I actually have to do something for the Lions for that. So that'd be a good.
This is SportsSlaw with Lomas Brown, the pro.
And Deb Schneider, I'm the prof. And together, we're the pro and the prof.
And here we are.
Yes.
Right before a holiday weekend.
I know. We're back, Deb. I know I missed the episode or two. The Lions have had me very busy, but I'm glad to be back. How are you? How have things been? Have you been holding down the podcast? Have you been?
I've been working on holding down the podcast.
There you go.
I wouldn't call myself the star, but definitely, we have some great guests. We had a really fun one on the Olympics, and that was good and broadcast. So how are the Lions going to be?
So that's my reaction.
That does not sound good.
Yeah, Deb.
Oh, no.
I like to be more encouraging. And look, it's a young team. I think they say they might have one player that's over the age of 30 on the team. So you're dealing with a whole bunch
golf?
of young. I don't even know if it's golf. I don't even know if he hit 30 yet. So, but it's going to be a young team. So with a young team, you're going to have a lot of growing pains, a lot of learning curves, but I think they're building towards the future. So that's the great thing about this, that people have something to look forward to. They're building, and hopefully, we can win a few games this year. I think any games they can win this year, I think is almost like a feather in the cap for them. So, hopefully they can keep building.
That's not sounding like the opposite of a perfect season, is it?
No, well, we don't want to go through another 0-16
No,
season.
we don't.
We don't want to see that again. Yeah, so you're right about that. So
yeah,
and just real fast, Deb, just like to tell you again, everybody know we're still dealing with COVID and the new variant with COVID. Well, the NFL has put in some new protocols now where we were traveling with the team, and we just got the notification that we won't be able to travel with the team. Basically, non-company personnel won't be allowed to be on the team flight because of the concerns with COVID. So we'll be commercially flying to the sites, myself, Dan Miller, and a lot of the media team for the Lions. So they're really going to trim down who's going to travel with the team. It's just a big problem with this COVID and how it's spreading. And of course, you got a lot of players that aren't vaccinated, which kind of adds to the drama. So, it's just going to be different this year again. But the great things we should have back this year.
Yeah, well, it's kind of scary. We've been talking about COVID for a year and a half now, and with the new variants and all of that, and then each stadium has their own protocols. Each state has their own protocols. Yes. Each team is doing their own thing. Little bit scary, but you are traveling as opposed to last year when you were broadcasting.
Exactly.
So that's going to be different too.
Exactly.
So,
no media is allowed in the locker rooms. So it'll be no more in-person interviews. It'll probably still be over Zoom and internet. So, it's going to be different. And I know it's affecting football, but we got, like you say, we have a special guest tonight. I don't know if their sport's going to be affected, but I know it's affecting football.
Absolutely. So tonight we're bringing back Dawn Riley, who our sailor extraordinaire. I'm so excited to have Dawn here from Oakcliff. 3 America's Cups, 2 Whitbread around the world, first all women's team in both of them. An absolute great sailor, maybe a little clumsy around the house.
I broke my arm. I don't even know how to do that. There you go.
Oh, I wanted to see that scar. I heard about the scar. Wow.
It's there.
But you just got done with a big Michigan race, a nice freshwater race, the Mackinac race. You set a short course record by over 2 hours. which is huge.
Wow.
I guess the previous record was about 17 hours. You made it in 15, and the bar wasn't.
We were 17, and the
you were
previous
17.
was 18. Yeah. So it was one of those magic races after we got unstuck from the bottom. So we left the dock pretty confident after doing the Chicago Mackinac with young people on board and trainees. And we get out of the Black River, we turn left, and we run aground just off of Sarnia. And of course, one of the kids on the boat who's autistic, he's like, "Are we in Canada? We're not allowed to be in Canada." We are stuck in Canada. So that was not an auspicious beginning, but we rebooted, we regrouped. A 1,000-footer came down the river and lifted the water level just enough for us to get off after a while. And I said, okay, that's it. Everybody on deck. We were all dumbasses. This was a team effort, and we're going to go out. We're going to dive on the boat. We're going to make sure it's okay. We're going to make sure there's no damage. We're going to start the race. That was our gimme. There's no more mistakes made in this race. And then from then on, it was like butter. Everything worked. The team was working together. Everybody was focused. Even there was a line of thunderstorms. We were able to come up through just like a little sunny window. A boat to leeward of us lost their mast. Boats to weather of us had tornadoes. We got through and just kept pushing, pedal to the metal. And we finished Mackinac Island with the sun rising and the moon setting behind us. It was one of those just magical races.
Yeah. So Don, I'm a land lover, so I love dry land. But let me ask you this. I know in track and field, if it's wind aided, they kind of, and you break a record and it's wind aided, they kind of put that in there saying that it was wind aided. Does the same happen with boating? Does the wind help you break records? And if you do they put an asterisk by it that said that it was wind aided?
No, we like the wind. The wind is always aiding us. So that's the benefit of it. The one thing is this, because we couldn't go into Canada because of COVID, the bigger boats don't normally do the shore record. But if you can see the little graphic, we were able to just kind of stay really close to the Michigan shore and just get lifted. So the wind just got better and better for us as we went around. And it was truly a magic race. And just to clarify that there have been big boats like ours that have tried to set this record on purpose. So they've chosen to sail the shorter course. So it was a legitimate record. And I think it's going to stand for a little while.
Wow.
That's really exciting.
Yes.
And you were saying that you had a relatively young crew, and I was asking you about that. You said you had at least one of your crew was autistic. Mm-hmm. How many people crew a boat like this? Because this is a big boat. You said 125-foot mast,
125-foot mast, 86 feet long, and we have 22 people on board. So, but the average crew weight is usually 190, and our average crew weight was 160. So they were small people. It took a little bit longer to do stuff, but there's the boat. It was part of the training, as part of teaching a kid, because they're 15, 16, 17. So they might turn out to be 190 or 210 pounds, but at age 15, they shouldn't be. So we're giving them the skills before they have the size.
So see, Deb, I'm 245 pounds. So Dawn doesn't want me on her boat. So yeah, she don't want the big fella on the boat right now.
That's the nice thing about this sport. You can have a lot of little and a lot of big as long as you average out.
Oh,
well, I'd average out with you.
There you go.
Yes, yeah. So Dawn, I was going to ask you again. You heard me and Deb talking about COVID in the lead of the show. How has that affected you, your crew? How has that affected sailing, period?
Well, because at Oakcliff, we were very ahead of the game and we locked in March 5th, 2020. We have not had any even scares of COVID. So we had everybody, and we don't allow we're a public nonprofit, but we're in control, and we don't allow anybody on site who has not been fully vaccinated. It boggles my mind that there's people that don't want to be vaccinated. It makes absolutely no sense. And for somebody who got February 13th of last year, or of this year is when I got my second shot. It's such an incredible freedom. And even with the Delta variant, we know that you have to be careful. But it's Oh my God, it's just so silly. I feel so sorry for the people that are being duped and tricked into not getting the vaccine, because nobody's being tricked into getting it. They're only being tricked into not getting it.
Great
Yeah,
point.
that's it's become so politicized. It's ridiculous. This is a public health issue.
Yes.
I want to get out there. This is a public health issue. This
Okay,
is
since we're
not
on
a Republican Democrat.
Since we're on this, what universe does it make sense from a strategic point of view for the Republicans to kill off all of their constituents? I don't get it. Don't get it.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I don't know. So, do you require everybody who's on the boat to be vaccinated? And at Oakcliff, is everybody vaccinated?
Everybody is vaccinated. Everybody's required to be vaccinated. We have their proof of their card on a file in our team drive, last name, first name, and as much as just making sure it's done, it also just gives everybody the confidence. So we walk around without masks all the time. You go out in public, and in New York in particular, I think because we got hit so hard, nobody's really requiring masks, or not very many places are requiring masks, but everybody's wearing them. It's just it's seen as the polite thing to do, and it's your public duty and your personal duty to do that. But yeah, it at Oakcliff, it just allows us for have no questions. So there's nobody that goes, oh well, so and so wasn't vaccinated. I'm like, no, come, I'll show you the card on the team drive. I've got it here.
Yeah. So Don, do you guys classify things? Is there a season? Is there so many races? Do you guys have a season? Do you have playoffs? Do you have a championship? How does that work? Like I say, I'm a land lover, so I'm learning. You're teaching me.
Well, we keep trying to copy every other sport, but sailing's so unique, it doesn't really work that way. So in the America's Cup, we used to have the Challenger Series, where all the teams except for the one that owned the cup would race against each other. Then they said, let's call it the World Series. And all the sailors are like, well, no, it's the Challenger Series. And then the non-sailors were like, the what? Sailing? Is it got a World Series? So we have to stop doing that. I think we have to do what's right for us. Now, with that being said, there's different genres. So right now we are Saturday, we'll finish the second of the Grand Slam regatta, where there's match racing. It's one type of match racing. And we have a team from Italy, 2 teams from England, a team from New Zealand, a team from France, plus American teams. So we actually have international competition right here in Oyster Bay. And all of those, the skippers, so it'd be like the quarterback represents the team, and they get points on a world ranking. So they do get a world ranking. And then the higher your ranking, oh my God, look at how many people are in that boat.
I know.
Looks like a lot of people in a small boat.
Yes.
It's a big boat. It's just everybody's standing up. So there is some world ranking, but it's not necessarily an organized schedule. Actually, can you, I wanted to back up a little bit on that. The name of the boat is, there we go. So it's OC 86. And we are sitting there, we're like, we need graphics. We need to do something. There's this boat called Rambler 88. We're like, make it like Rambler 88. And I go, except for it's got to be sexy. And we're like, we're going to put that word. So all of our shirts have that little sexy. It's not officially part of the boat, but our t-shirts were in high demand.
That's funny.
That is really funny. So do all boats have then numbers? Is there a number for each boat?
There's
and does the number change?
There's sail numbers, but this is just the name. I mean, this boat used to be called Windquist. Oh, there's me exhausted with a broken arm. Long race. Yeah, I didn't sleep at all because I also hurt my knees, so I couldn't go down below. So I was on deck the whole time. But it's okay. We did well. That's all that matters. Results.
Now, what about training, Don? Again, you were talking about the one boat that had the big mask, and what type of training do the crew have? Do they have to go through any type of special training? You require lifting weights, cardio, anything like that?
All of the above. We make sure that everybody's required to have safety training. But obviously, if somebody falls in the water and you know how to pull them out, but you're not strong enough, it does you no good. So, when we're doing different events like this, we come in and we leave, but we expect everybody to have some level of fitness. And when we are on site, everybody does team workouts. So if you can not work out if you're not there, but when you're with the team, it's going to suck if you're not in shape.
Oh my goodness.
So, Dawn, have you found that more people are getting into sailing right now because it's an outdoor sport? It's something that can be done, or is it something where people just are shying away from all sports? Because I know sports right now are kind of hurting in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Boating in particular has really taken up during COVID, especially power boats, some sailboats. But again, we here at Oakcliff, we just said, get your quarantine. And that's the reason why boating took off, because it can be different ages and different skill levels, and you can form a team. So it could be a family, it could be your pod, it can be your bubble, and you can go out and have a wonderful day and be free on, on the ocean or on the lake, and, have a glass of wine and pretend like there's nothing wrong in the world.
Wait. I can come out to Oakcliff. I can sail. I can be on the water, and I can drink wine.
Oh my goodness.
That's the end of the sailing. Not at the beginning.
I'm there.
Oh my God. So Deb loved that too. She loved that with the wine. Yeah. So Don, so again, back to me being the player. Is there a strategy? Do you have a playbook? How do you go about competing in these races?
Well, there's a playbook, just like a football playbook for every maneuver. It's like getting spinnakers up, getting spinnakers down, where everybody goes. Then you also, in terms of navigation and some of the technical sides, you have your blue book, which is what you want to do to be prepared for the race. And then you have your red book, just like you do in an airplane, where it's an emergency. Like, I can't get the computer to turn on. What are the things to switch? Where are the fuses? And then when you're out there, you also have the weather. So you're running expedition runs in a computer to see where the computer says to go. But you need to look out the window. Too many people nowadays are like, oh, look, there's an app for that. It tells me just to tack now. No. You have to look out the window. You have to feel it, use all your senses. So yeah, it's quite complicated.
Wow. I'm just, can you take us through a little bit, like with the race, what happens? Because you're out there for 17 hours.
Yeah, but that's nothing.
That's nothing. I mean, I know you've done the round the world races.
Yeah.
How does a boat work? Do you have different crews that work together, or is it different shifts?
So Oakcliff's a little bit unique because we're always bringing new people in. So we're doing new training and young people. Sometimes you'll sail with your regular team that everybody, and it just goes. The schedule, though, is that you will have, the way I like to run and the way we run it is you divide the team up into 4 watches. And every 2 hours, there's an equal-ish watch change. So, for this, it's easy. It's 5 and 5 and 5 and 5. And then myself as the skipper and the navigator, we float. So we only sleep when we need to or can. So you have a bow person and in front of the boat person. They'll be opposite each other. So at any one time, you have somebody who's either the primary or good enough in each position. And then every 4 hours you swap. So you get technically 4 hours down and 4 hours up. Of course, if there's a storm or something crazy, that gets less. But if you're part of the normal crew, you should be able to get 8 hours sleep, maybe in a 24-hour period. Maybe.
Wow. So for future sailors, when you guys, I know you train and you have the school and everything, what's the starting age? Do you have to have experience to come to your school? How does that work? Like, if I had a young player that I'm trying to teach a technique to or teach that to and stuff, no prior experience is needed. I could teach him through a lot of that, but is boating different? Do you have to have some prior experience with that?
It's got a little bit of a weird language, mostly because people don't sail a lot, so they don't know tack, jibe, port, starboard. But that's not the barrier at all. The barrier is getting access to the water. And the great thing is, since like mid 90s, we've had more and more and more community sailing. So you have to start at a place where you are at the right level. To come to Oakcliff, you do need experience. But what I really want is good attitude. So if you have an unbelievable motivation and an excellent attitude and you want to learn and you're willing to put in the hard work, I will take you if you're way less experienced than somebody else.
Wow.
Prima donna,
Yeah.
I'm like, bye-bye.
Yeah, that sounds like football. I'm with you, Don. I would take a guy that has a great attitude. He may not have any experience or may not be a great athlete, but if he has a great attitude, he's willing to learn, he's teachable like that. I would take him over a guy that, like you say, that has great athletic ability and just thinks he knows it all. That's funny. It kind of correlates with football and with sports.
Yeah, it correlates in employment world too. You go for that attitude. You go for that competitive attitude. If they're not teachable, so everybody who's listening, it's all about the attitude.
And it makes a stronger team. I just did a speech for a company called CB Insights and they're a young company that's growing, and they were having really difficult time forming teams. And I went through a whole bunch of different stuff. In the end, I said, I used the Mackinac race as an example. I said that team was, it was when you have a good team, teamwork should be easy. Not every single moment. There's a lot of hard work to go in, and there are some conflicts you have to work through. But a perfect team and an awesome team is easy. It's like butter. It's smooth. You just keep working together. And I looked at some of the people that were kind of grumpy, and I was like, if there's a team that's not working, there's something has to change, and it might be you.
Is it the team or is it the leader? Can a leader, how much difference does a leader make? And I guess that's a question really for both of you, because in sports, when we talk about having teams, a lot of times a good leader or a change in leadership changes the entire dynamic.
If you're asking me, I would say that you have to have that base of a team.
Okay.
Having a good team makes leadership easy. When it just becomes too hard, it could be the leader, or it could be, different people on the team. And sometimes it's good just to reboot. And you have to, in sports, unlike business, we have a pretty clear goal. We have to win the game. We have to get to the finish line. Business is complicated.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You could have a great leader, but if you don't have cooperative, or if you don't have good enough team or team members, it's going to make his job harder. It really is. I think you have to have the team, and they have to have the right attitude, like Don is saying, and be willing to sacrifice. I think that's the biggest thing. I would take a guy that's willing to sacrifice, not want to be number one, but a guy that's willing to sacrifice for the betterment of our team. And I just think that makes everything run smoothly. I agree.
Yep, absolutely.
And do you have at Oakcliff, just turning to Oakcliff for a second, you've got kids, you said 15, 16. How old are the kids? Girls, boys, and where do they come from? From all over the world, from New York area?
The kids come from all over the world. And COVID obviously slowed down the stream of international sailors, but they come from all over the world. And we go in phases. Sometimes I look around, I'm like, gosh, we're like 70% women. And then other times I'm like, what happened? We're only 30% women, because it's a changeover and it's training right now. Actually, our strongest in our bookkeeper and staff and training, our bookkeeper, our PR person, our logistics person, and myself are all women. And we only have and then our fleet captain. Yeah, we only have 3 guys right now. We're almost all women. It's just the way it goes. That's the nice thing about sailing is, as we talked about earlier, different sizes can fit together to make a team, so you don't have to all be super strong. We have Anna, who's one of our high school students, because we have the high school on site. And I said, how much do you weigh? 90? She goes, 94 pounds.
Bringing down that average.
Exactly. But she was
Oh.
one of the most critical people on the boat because she was switched in and focused, and she went for it. And she was always doing what she wanted, what we needed to do. She did not lose focus 1 second. There's Liz Shaw, who's was our training program director and she's actually maybe coming back. So that would be another strong female.
Yeah. So my question, Don, is, for minorities,
Yep.
is exposure the biggest thing for sailing to become more diverse? Is it exposure? And when I say exposure, I know exposure to the sport, but what about exposure as far as being out there, being broadcasted for people to see it? What do you think could be the biggest factor to help with diversity in the sailing game?
I think it's both ends of the spectrum. So yes, you have to have exposure. We have so many great community sailing programs like the one at the Detroit Boat Club and many that my organization starting in 1995. The America True Foundation is now being rolled into Oakcliff because we've finally gotten to the place, 20 years later, where we have kids that were exposed to it in the 90s who are now becoming professionals. And so we're the place for them to get their graduate degree. And we have a fair amount of diversity in our team right now on site, which is awesome. We also had one incident where there was one kid that was not respectful and I don't even want to say what he was doing, but we investigated and we expelled him. There's no way that anybody can act that way at Oakcliff. And what I was the most upset about is that there were people that were, of color, and they just put up with it. I said, you never have to do that at Oakcliff. I've got your back. There is no way in hell that should ever happen here. And do not hesitate to come. Do not hesitate to come to me. And so that's the other end of the spectrum is you need a strong leader that doesn't go, well, maybe they were just kidding. As I said in the last time, that's bullshit.
I like it.
You have to have both ends.
It sounds like some incredible strong leadership there at Oakcliff. Scary,
some people would say, but
that's okay. Scary's good.
Yeah,
Scary's good. So Oakcliff is actually it's a school for kids from all over the world to come to. And high school, or what age do you start with Oakcliff? Tell us a little bit about Oakcliff, because I think that's just fascinating what you've set up. It's so exciting.
So we started age 15 because it's like an independent boarding school. So they need to be able to take care of themselves and clean and laundry and all just the personal, hygiene stuff. So it's 15. We have an accredited high school, so they can do their high school here, or they can come in the summers. You don't have to come during the winter. And then our oldest people are usually those that are going through their second or third iteration. So 50, 60, 70, but really the bulk are from 15 to just out of college, 24, 25. And those are the people that are using this as a way to get their education, to get experience not only in sailing, but also in the business and the technical side. So it's like an apprenticeship program, trade school, high school, educational, and sports team. It's all mixed into one. It's hard we actually had a statement in the beginning of all the things we were not, because it was easier to say what we were not than it was to say what we were. And I hope it's a team and a family. Just so you know, we have grown Italians who made a mess upstairs in the bunkhouse, and I was just as hard with them as I would be with the 15-year-old. So you do not leave your pasta dishes in the
Lomas, we are second iteration.
Yes. So, Deb, I know Hunter wants to get in.
Yes.
Yes, we let Hunter. Yes, there he is. Bring Hunter.
Right.
Hi, Don. I just wanted to ask you, being from Michigan, does sailing in the Great Lakes have any extra kind of special meaning to you when you get to come back and sail in the area?
Well, it definitely had extra meaning to my mother, who threw a huge birthday party on the Wednesday between the Chicago and the Port Huron race, and the boat got down to Port Huron quickly. So I was like, "Hey, Mom, do you mind if the team comes?" She's like, "No, sweetie. How many?" I was like, 22. So we had a large party in my mom's backyard. It's nice to see friends and family and people that I knew and meet new people. And frankly, people from Michigan and the Great Lakes are just plain nicer than most of the other places in the country. So that's good. And just because it needs to be said again, sailing in the Great Lakes trains you to be able to sail as some of the best in the world, because it is so changeable, because you have tornadoes and you have thunderstorms and you have no wind and you have bugs and you have changeable winds, you have cold, you have hot. So it really, really, really is a full service training ground. And many, many people that have done really well from America, at least, have come from the Great Lakes.
Wow. Lomas makes you want to go out on the water, huh?
Someday, please.
I said I'm gonna build up enough nerve to do that, Don. I did. I told you, as long as you got a XX life vest for the big guy,
We got that.
and I don't have to be on the front or the back of it, I'm good to go.
Got it. We can make that happen.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. So what are the goals? Do you set goals before the season starts, or do you have any goals? Do you have goals for the school? I'm just trying to see.
I have to admit that with the COVID and the post-COVID, we have not had enough time to set goals. We never really focus on winning, because you have no control about winning. You have control about all the little things. So we talk about trying to work every day so that we are doing well in every little thing that we do. We try to make sure that we are doing it as efficiently as possible. We're a public nonprofit. We do not have lots of money to waste. So how are we using every dollar to make the boats go better, to make the programming better, to make the humans better? So yeah, we have goals. And we've been in existence for 11 years now. So now we're looking at the next 10 years. What is it that we want to do? Do we want to be more involved in America's Cup and around the world? The Olympics are the hard one, because it's really hard to do the Olympics. It's like talking about herding cats. You're herding teenager cats. So that one's extra hard. And there's also an organization, the national governing body, called U.S. Sailing. They're responsible for that. And I don't want to step on anybody's toes, especially if they've got a way to do it, just go for it, because we've got plenty going on. So our goal really is to continue building leaders through, American leaders through sailing, and probably to secure our footprint so that it can last well after myself. And, so it can really be an institution.
Is Oakcliff one of the, we talk about, you've talked about the second iteration, Lomas and I coming in sailing. Hunter might be closer to the first iteration, but it sounds like it's pretty much an ageless sport. Most sports aren't like that. Like in football, we're talking about, in just about any professional sport, major league. I mean, you get to your mid 30s and you're done. And a lot of the careers are very, very short, with the exception of course, Lomas, 18 years. But you're unusual. Very unusual in sports. Is there any kind of age limit? It sounds like you can start very young, and
you can start very young, and it's so complicated. You actually get better as you age up to a certain point. And then also you can go and move from being, just strong and in the front of the boat and just pulling stuff and being like, and then you can move back with your experience, and you can be the skipper, you can be a navigator, you can be a trimmer. So there's things you can do that are less purely physical and more experience. I don't need to turn the handles that fast because we haven't started to unload the sail yet. So let's just wait a minute. So wisdom adds, and it makes your career longer.
And I'm hearing Chicago had a 95-year-old sailor.
Wow.
Yep, it happened. Yeah, as long as you can get around the boat, why not?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
and there's different boats. I was just sailing on a super yacht a couple of weekends ago in Newport, so that was 156 foot boat with washers and dryers and chefs and stewardesses. So, and we were still racing.
Yeah.
Okay. We could do that.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Outside of the boat, is sailing an expensive sport?
No, because once somebody has the boat, you just need to show up. And that's one of the biggest things is that people are like, oh, it's too expensive, I need to join a yacht club. No, you do not. You just need to be a good human and show up and work hard. And it's just like you talking as a coach. If you have a good you're like, okay, I'll pay you, but that's not really, I want you here because I want you here. Money's not the motivation. So money's also not the barrier.
That really makes it great for minorities and for any socioeconomic status to be able to be a sailor and learn how to sail. It sounds like.
Yeah, we just keep saying it over and over. Since the 90s, I would say, just come, just show up, just show up, just show up more than once. It's working. And like I said, the Community Sailing Network in the United States is doing a really good job of exposing people to the opportunities and giving them the idea, whether they go professional or they come back to it once they're 40 and have established a career and buy a boat.
Do you need to know how to swim?
Ideally you do. It's kind of like
just checking.
It's kind of like just do it. I doubt that there's many people that can't learn how to swim. They just haven't had the opportunity to learn how to swim.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Hunter, I think you had another question.
Yeah, I had one final one for you, Dawn. It's pretty basic, but what is one of your favorite memories from your sailing career?
I've said this before, and I think I have moments all the time, all over the place, like sailing in New Zealand and places called Whakapapa, with women that I was teaching how to sail and navigate, and seeing the phosphorescence. But there was one time in the Southern Ocean, I'll make it quick, but basically we put up some sails. It was super, super cold, snowing cold. And we put up some sails, but the physical activity made us warm. And we just lay there on the foredeck on the front of the boat, looking up at the stars, and there was no moon, and the horizon, the stars in the sky, and the phosphorescence and the reflection in the ocean. It was like being inside of a globe. You couldn't see the horizon. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, I'm about to hit you with a big fella question now. You ready, Dawn?
Yeah.
Okay. Any food restrictions? Can the big fella come on and eat what he wants to? I know I got to be in physical shape. I know I got to lift weights and do my sprints and everything. But when I get on that boat, can the big fella eat what he wants to? Do I have to diet? Special
No,
food?
you don't have to diet, but we often have freeze-dried food, which I wouldn't recommend is a gourmet option.
That was kind of a bummer there. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I like that really big super yacht that
has lots of food options.
Yeah,
Okay.
washer dryer super yacht, chefs. That's my boat.
There you go.
So I think we're running out of time here a bit. I know it's been a long week, right before a holiday week. Any final thoughts? How sailing's going, moving into the future? Anything?
Yeah, it's hard. It's so complicated and it's so weird. Like we're like, yay, we're out of COVID. We're doing this, and then Italy goes back in, or Greece, and then let's not even talk about climate change. So I think it's amazing. And it was funny. I was on this super yacht, and they were talking about the housing market and the America's Cup, and I was sitting over there, and in all sincerity, I said out loud, I'm just trying to see the future. And they all, they're investors and people, they all looked at me and they're like, we all are. I'm like, yes. But I literally am at that point where if I have enough quiet time and not, there's not so much chaos, I'm trying to see what the future will look like. And I will figure it out. It's not going to be hugely different, but I would love to see a future where there was more accessibility. There was more just plain enjoyment, respect for the environment, respect for each other, obviously more diversity and more equality. And why not do it in a sport that's surrounded by nature and beauty? Why not do it in a sport that isn't completely dominated by media and betting and pressure? It's it could be a pretty ideal platform to move that forward.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end the podcast. I'm hoping that everybody will listen and get out there and start sailing. I know I'm really excited about getting on the boat. Very,
Wonderful.
very excited.
Please come say hi to us in Oakcliff in Oyster Bay, New York.
I'm going for second iteration. I like that. Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening. And next week we're going to be doing a podcast about 9/11 20th anniversary and where we all were, which should be very, very interesting. Yes. So check us out on SportsSlaw.com. Check us out on SoundCloud, on Spotify, and we look forward to answering all your questions and our great guests. Thank you so much, Don.
Thanks, Don.